Hello, Garland Nixon here. Hate to bug you too many times today, but we have some breaking news, a cessation of hostilities, or is it a ceasefire? Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here, and perhaps I should plug in my plug in my computer. All right. Looks like things are moving kind of slow. All right. I don't know what the heck's going on here. Could be. There we go. Maybe that'll help. I don't know what the heck's going on with some of these websites. Sometimes you get on this website and it's got all of these stinking graphics and stuff, and it ends up screwing up your computer. But let us talk. Okay, so what we've got is this today for the update of those who may not know what's happening. I'm sure you all do. The latest things that happened was there were a lot of discussions amongst the punditry class. I guess I'm that now, maybe. I don't know. The punditry class talking about Iran's response, and most of us thought, okay, Iran's not going to shoot at U.S. bases because they don't want to kill Americans. Well, you know what? It looks like the Iranians were smarter than me, which ain't hard. And what the Iranians apparently said was they contacted the U.S. and said, look, we're going to shoot at your bases, so have people out of the way. We're going to do it. They did what the U.S. did. The U.S. basically, apparently, the Trump administration apparently contacted the Iranians, let them know we're going to bomb your facilities. So the Iranians got everything the hell out of the facilities, filled all of the tunnels with to get down to the facilities with cement, and went on about their business. And the enriched uranium, who knows where it is? Could be in China, North Korea, could be in downtown Tehran. It is. Bottom line is the IAEA don't know where it is anymore, right? So the Iranians played the same game. They said, okay, fair enough. Yeah, we're going to bomb your bases. Apparently, they hit a base in Qatar. There were loud explosions apparently in Baghdad, where they hit some American radar installations in Baghdad and blew the hell out of them. And so then Trump is out there tweeting, ceasefire, we're going to have a ceasefire. He also tweets that both sides came to me almost simultaneously, both asking for a ceasefire. I find that hard to believe. And here's one of the main reasons I find it so hard to believe, because I'm calling it a cessation of hostilities, not a ceasefire, for this reason. When you have a conflict, generally a ceasefire is when the two sides meet and they come up with the parameters for a ceasefire, and they sign a document or they have some kind of agreed to ceasefire, right? Okay, I'm not going to do this, you're not going to do that, and it'll have things that have to be done and stuff like that, right? So apparently there was some discussion with Iran. Now, keep in mind something. Trump says they came to us simultaneously. I don't believe him. I do believe the Iranians. And in this instance, from now on, when Trump says A and the Iranians say B, I'm going to believe the Iranians for this reason. The Trump administration has already shown that when they were negotiating with the Iranians, that they lied to them. And they said, oh, we're going to negotiate. We're going to meet you Monday, Sunday, whatever the hell day. And then they stabbed them in the back. So for that purposes of discussion now, if the Iranians say we did A and the U.S. said we did B, I'm going to go with what the Iranians say, because they're the only ones that have proven to at least have some modicum of dedication to some level of honesty. Okay, let's keep going. So what I've been reading now for the last couple of days is that the Israelis have been saying, we want out. We've had enough. Uncle, how do we get the hell out of this? We're getting our asses kicked. You and me and all of us have been watching Telegram, I guess some people on Twitter, whatever, different online things I've been watching. And man, these missile strikes, see the difference. You got to understand the difference is this. Israel has been hitting they've been hitting Iran with air-launched missiles. That means A plane takes off, gets up to speed, fires the missile, right? They can only be but so heavy because a plane has, the amount of weight it can carry, and particularly the distance it has to go all the way from Israel, which is like 1,200 kilometers. Bottom line, they're very restricted in how large a missile they can use, and they don't have that big of missiles anyway. Meanwhile, Iran's firing ground missiles, which means they're going to be bigger. They're going to have a much bigger explosive charge, and when they hit, they're going to do a hell of a lot of damage. And as you and all of us have seen, they've been turning a whole lot of stuff to rubble in Israel. And when I saw that video with the mayor of Haifa saying we need a ceasefire, we need to end this thing within days, not weeks, you kind of knew the pressure was there. And apparently, there's reporting. Apparently, it's gone into the mainstream news that the Iranians in one of their missile strikes killed the head of the Mossad or something like that. So two can play at that game. That's all I'm saying. They're targeting. They claim that they struck a Mossad base, meeting room, whatever like that, and killed a bunch of Israeli intelligence people. I believe it. They got intelligence people there. They got intelligence on the ground, just like Israel. And so Israel was paying a very, very dear price. So the bottom line is this. What I'm saying is this. I'm going to call it a cessation of hostilities. They stopped fighting because the Iranians basically didn't say a ceasefire. They said, we will not agree. No. What they said is, if you stop shooting at us, we'll stop shooting at you. That's fair enough. I tell you why I think that's important, why it's critical, and why they took that position. Because they've made it clear we don't trust the U.S. and Israel anymore. So how are we going to make a deal with these people? They've lied, cheat, and steal. The only thing, you probably heard my if you've heard my channel, you've heard me speak of, I often speak of my old dad. Wish you could meet him. He was a hilarious guy. The guy was an absolute comedian, but he had a million sayings and things like that. And one of the things that he talked about was a money in hand deal, right? Where you say to the person, okay, we got a deal, blah, blah, blah. And you say, the last thing you say to him is, well, looks like I'll be needing the money up front. In other words, we ain't got no deal. You put this money in my hand, right? Okay. That's the only kind of deals. And it basically means a deal where everything's up front. There ain't no trust. That's it. I guess if I interpret it, that's what it means. A deal where there is no trust. I don't trust you to pay me later. I don't trust you to come through with anything later. Whatever I'm going to get, I get now. Whatever you get now. That's that. Right? And I think that's where the Iranians are. So the Iranians are like, hey, let's have a ceasefire deal. Deal with you lying bastards? Not going to happen. Here's what we'll do. You don't shoot at us. We don't shoot at you. You shoot at us tomorrow. We start shooting back at you tomorrow. Because that's what it is. It's a cessation of hostilities. It's not an end to hostilities. It's not a ceasefire. It's not an agreed upon ceasefire with deals and parameters and a reason. No. What they said is, as of 4 a.m., if you're not shooting at us at 4 a.m., we ain't shooting at you at 4 a.m. But apparently, the Israelis got a bunch of last shots off, and the Iranians fired a bunch of last shots off, and that was that. For now, that I know of. That also implies something obvious, and that is no foolishness. If you think you're going to now launch a drone in this country, if you're going to kill a scientist, if you're going to take offensive action against us, you're going to find yourself swallowing some missiles again. We're going to, as I've said many times, the Iranians have agreed to get rid of their missiles one salvo at a time. So what they're saying is, we've stopped getting rid of our missiles. We've got an agreement. You don't want us to have missiles? We're willing to get rid of them. One salvo at a time, right on top of your ass. And so the bottom line is, they're holding on to their missiles. But if Israel does anything stupid, they'll be getting rid of the missiles again on top of Israel. Now, here's something interesting, I think, that is of great consequence. Marjorie Taylor Greene has the post. It's a great post. And again, me, I'm a lefty. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, here's what I say about her that I appreciate. I may have very, very serious ideological disagreements with her, but I got a lot of serious ideological disagreements with a lot of people. So that don't mean nothing. That doesn't mean that I don't respect her. And I respect people who take a position and stand by their position, even if I don't agree with it, that have some level of principles. Here's a very important tweet by Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier today. I spent millions of my own money and traveled the entire country campaigning for President Trump and his MAGA agenda and his promises. So that's an opening. That's saying, hey, man, I fought for you. And Trump's MAGA agenda included these key promises: no more foreign wars, no more regime change, world peace. And this, in capital letters, is what people voted for. So she opens reminding Trump, I fought for you. And this is what you promised us. This is the foundation. She said Trump's MAGA agenda included these key promises. She's reminding Trump, this was your promises. She goes on to say this, and this is what people voted for. Only 6 months in. So she lets you know, I was here for you. I supported you. You came up with something. This is what we all voted for. Here's what she says. Only 6 months in, and we're back into foreign wars, regime change, and World War III. So she lets them know, you lied to us. We voted for you. She goes on to say, listen to this. She hammers Trump. It feels like a complete bait and switch to please the neocons, warmongers, military-industrial complex contract, and neocon TV personalities that MAGA hates and who were never Trumpers. Well, she's letting him have it. And she's right. She's right. I ain't a Trump guy, but I'll tell you this. Where you Trump has double crossed, it's bewitched. Oh, what a shock! You know, a politician who double crossed the voters. What she's saying is you lied to us. You double crossed us. You gave us some key promises, and 6 months in, and you have violated every one of them. You bastard! Right? She's letting them have it. So then she says, then it quickly turned to Iran's nuclear facilities partially damaged, and now it's we don't know where their enriched uranium is. She's letting them know your story is full of crap. You lied to us. We voted for something, and now the story you're having doesn't make sense. My children, let me be very clear. When a woman says that, or most men know this, if a woman says something like that, let me be very clear. You better listen. So let's continue. My children are 22, 25, and 27. I will literally fight anyone with capital for their future. That means include you. She's saying, I don't want my kids dying in a war, you moron. I will fight anyone for them. And their future and their entire generation's future must be free of America-last foreign wars that provoke terrorists on our homeland, military drafts, and nuclear war. Man, I wish there was some Where the hell's Bernie Sanders? Where the hell's AOC? Where the hell is these so-called Democrats who supposedly be standing up like that? Where are they? I'm fighting for them to have a future where they can afford to buy a home, afford insurance, invest for retirement, enjoy life, retain their God-given freedoms, which they don't have, afford to raise a family under the Christian faith. Okay. And that's what you want. But here's the thing, if you want to raise a family under the Christian faith, the Muslim faith, no faith at all, that's fine. Not be in debt, safety, and security. And now this is all caps. Not have our own taxpayer funded government destroy it all. Contrary to brainwashed Democrat boomers, think and protest about, Trump is not a king and MAGA is not a cult, and I can and do have my own opinion. She's letting Trump know that there is unhappiness in MAGA land. That is the message. Trump, no, I don't know if he knows it or not, is in deep and serious political trouble. In fact, I would say this, based on what he's done, a lot of MAGA's done with him. See, the problem Trump had, for starters, was he didn't have any clearance, bro. He had no clearance whatsoever. When people have been double-crossed and lied to by every politician over and over and over, and you come in, they're expecting you to lie to them, and you got to prove otherwise. And Trump didn't prove otherwise. And he, in fact, people were probably like, well, I think we're going to be lied to, but hopefully not this time. And now they're just saying, yeah, we got lied to this time again. So Trump, it's interesting. Somebody said MAGA is a cult. You know what? I would agree with them for this reason. Because they're Republicans. And what I've said is this: if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you're a member of a brainwashed cult. If you're still a member of one of those parties, you are in fact a member of a brainwashed cult. So I would agree with the person who said MAGA is a cult, because MAGA is part of the Republican Party. If MAGA breaks away from the Republican Party, then I'll say it ain't a cult. But as long as it's a member of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, it is a member of a brainwashed, stinking cult. That's what they are. That's what both parties are. But the job of each party is to say the other one's a cult, but we're not. Oh, no, we're not the cult, they are. And the other side says, no, we're not the cult, they are. And I'd say, you're both right. Brainwashed cult. But so be it. Whichever one you're in ain't the brainwashed cult. We know how that game works. Let me continue. What I think of Iran, the Iran conflict, was this. And this is why I put it's a catastrophic defeat. The U.S. empire said, all right, we got to go after China because China's economically powerful. Their system is work. Well, for God's sake, we've gone around telling everybody that socialism doesn't work and that people will be unhappy. They'll all be beaten and killed. They'll have no rights and they'll all be impoverished because socialism doesn't work. And damn it, the people, 95 or some percent, some unbelievable percent of the people in China approve of their government. They're happy with their government. And they're richer like hell than we are, and we're $37 trillion in debt, and they actually have probably 15 or 20 trillion dollars in savings, right? We're a debtor nation. They ain't. So now the U.S. says, as you would expect, oh my God, that socialist country works. We got to fight them. Not we have to rethink what we're doing. We have to make some changes. We have to fix our school systems. No, we got to go knuckle dragging the apes. The only thing they know, ugh, they have gold. Ugh, what gold? Ugh, take gold. That's the United States. That's the thoughts of the U.S. Oh, they got gold. Ugh, what gold? Me take gold. These knuckle-dragging cavemen look at China, and they're like, we've got to contain China. It's even Mearsheimer. The Mearsheimer, I call them the Save the Missiles for China crew. They're just, Mearsheimer, I would never have it. Well, I'll put it like this. I would invite Mearsheimer on my channel to debate him about China. But the idea that I'm going to say that this guy is some legitimate person who has a right to critique the neocons when he is one of them, when he's one of the savior missiles for China people, he's one of these lunatics who say, no, no, no. Why are we doing all of this with Iran? They don't have nuclear weapons. We need to go to war with a country that has nuclear weapons that we can't defeat. We're going to need to go 7,000 miles away and go to war with a country that has nuclear weapons where we are sure to lose, where 50,000 Americans are going to die in the first few hours. There'll be a nuclear exchange and then we'll all die. Boy, way to go there. You sure are the voice of reason, John Mearsheimer. I think not. Okay, you can keep all of these people who somehow think John Mearsheimer is the voice of reason. I think they should rethink this thing. But okay, it is what it is. So let me continue. These geniuses' plan was we're going to go use Ukraine and we'll take out Russia and voila, off we go in the back door to China. Catastrophic defeat. So they're like, oh crap, that didn't work. Well, let's just keep throwing the Ukrainians at them. They'll kill all the Ukrainians. They kind of get on their nerves anyway, so to hell with them. And they'll be mad at us afterwards what we did with them. So they're better off if they're all dead. Ukrainians, you guys keep dying. We ain't sending you no more weapons. We ain't sending you a damn thing here. Fight them with your bare hands. I don't know. We don't give a shit. Your job is to die. Keep up the good work. Now, meanwhile, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Iran since Russia's a little too prickly. And I think they still think China's an option. But Russia's too prickly. They've beaten the living dog crap out of us. So here's what we're going to do. It's Iran. We can take them. They're kind of small. We'll do a warm-up on Iran. Let's just grab Iran, slap them around a little bit, and then we'll come in the back door, and we'll get Russia from behind. All right. Yeah, well, the Iranians get a vote, as they say. The Iranians get a vote. Now, here's what I have to say about the Iranians. As they've said, anybody who knows Iran understands that Iran ain't surrendering. Anybody that knows their history, their people, their culture, that knows Shia Islam, knows they ain't backing down. They can take a punch. So what do you know? Israel comes in. All right, we got a plan. As always, shocking, the same plan that never works. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go into Iran. We're going to cause mayhem, and then it'll just fall apart. You know, the way it always never does. We'll go in. You know what we'll do? We'll start a war against Russia, and then we'll have sanctions everywhere, and the people will set upon Putin and throw him out of office, and they'll put Navalny or something in power. That was their minds. It didn't work, of course, because it never does. Okay, but they boom, they jumped on Iran. Ha ha ha. We got the first shot in. We got a strike on Iran. We got drones. We got car bombs. We killed scientists, nuclear scientists. We did all of this stuff. Now we got them where we wanted. And Iranians shook it off and said, we took a punch. But we've been around for thousands of years. It ain't the first punch we've taken. So we took a punch. Now we're going to come back and start throwing punches. The problem is Israel's not used to taking punches. Israel's used to mowing the grass. They ain't used to getting their grass mowed. So Iran comes in, and they're throwing hammers at them, huge missiles. And I'm watching friggin' Israelis scurrying around like mice as these, I mean, gigantic missiles. Just kabloom! It looks like a friggin' Hiroshima, right? But they're using conventional weapons. Some of them like, 2,000 and 3,000. I mean, man, these are big missiles. And I mean, I saw one picture where there was like in the middle of the city, like a road, and the whole area was nothing. A whole block-long street was nothing but like a ditch. And all the buildings going out from the explosion were just obliterated. They were just rubble, right? So Israel was getting their butts kicked. And Iran, every single day, they were working the plan. And see, I think the difference was this, and here's a big difference. Number one, the difference in the size of missiles. But another big difference was this. Israel hit like some prison. Oh, what a brilliant plan. They're going to hit this plan, and then the prisoners will come out and they'll cause mayhem. They always got some stupid plan like that, right? Israel is hitting apartment buildings. Oh, we're going to kill this guy or that person. And boy, that's going to make a difference. Meanwhile, Iran was very strategic. They're taking out power plants. They're taking out refineries. They're taking out infrastructure. What Iran says is we're going to take Israel apart. We're going to take it to pieces. Piece by piece by piece. What it appears to me that the plan of Iran was to obliterate Israel's economy, to put them in a position where they can't fight, right? You and I get in a fight. If I get that wrist and I break your wrist, now you got less weapons to fight with, maybe your knees. Now I get this wrist and I break that wrist. Now you're running out of weapons in a hurry, right? I want to take away your ability to continue this. They were saying, and the Iranians were saying it. They were saying, we're going to dismantle this. We're going to destroy this thing. We're going to break it to pieces, one missile at a time. Everything they need to be a country, we're going to take from them until they wake up one day and they're not a country anymore. That you don't have to blow up all the buildings if you take out the power plants and the water plants, if you take out the infrastructure that they need. Bit by bit, piece by piece, surgically. They were surgically dismantling Israel. And Israel has never, let's face it, what do? They go bomb and kill some innocent people. They're not accustomed to what they were getting, which was a butt kicking, and their whole society is being dismantled. Meanwhile, the softies, which are the Israeli people, were like, oh, to hell with this. We're going back to Brooklyn. They're out of here. They're getting on their yachts. They're trying to get on planes. I knew they were in trouble when the government of Israel says the Israelis can't leave. They can't leave because they knew if people could leave, there'd be nobody left. Everybody was getting out of there. These people are not used to having missiles on their heads every night. They're not used to hiding every day. They're not used to hiding in underground shelters day and night. Because I watched a video of an Israeli Knesset member being interviewed, and then all of a sudden the alarms started going off on their phones. They all started running, and you heard a missile come over and kablooey. Now they all survived, but it wasn't far away. But they were running for their lives, scattering like stinking roaches, right? Every direction, running like rats. Run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the missile man. That's what they were looking at. Holy crap! Israelis aren't used to. They're not used to that. They woke up to a new reality, a reality that says there's somebody out there that can deliver the pain. They can bring the pain, and they brought the pain. And now the Israelis, keep in mind something, and this is another reason. One of the reasons it's a catastrophic defeat. One of the reasons that the military base the military outpost of the U.S. empire, that is Israel, is so valuable is that it is used to dominate the region. It's used to frighten everybody in the region. They use the word deterrence. They don't mean deterrence, they mean domination. They mean control, but they say deterrence. So part of what Israel was there was to dominate and control the region. So nobody in the region would even dream of pushing back against the Israelis. And Iran was the last one that they were going to get their hands on. Oh, we're going to get them. The problem was this. Number one, I believe Israel was the opening volley. They're going to hit first, and then they're going to bring the United States in, right? Okay, fair enough. That was the game plan. The heat was really, really hard on Donald Trump. One of the great things that we saw is the heat was starting to, the cauldron was heating up back home. People were back here really making it clear they don't want this. How do you drag? And the ruling elite, their biggest fear is internal uprising. I ain't saying that it's over. And I'm not saying that they're going to give up their imperial neocon globalist, a desire to rule the world, or they ain't going to stop doing terrible things. But what I'm going to say is this. Their biggest fear is internal uprising. And they were seeing a lot of people from all over the place saying, man, we ain't happy with this. And they knew good and damn well that Iran has a nuclear card, and that nuclear card is economics. They know good and well that if they push Iran too far, first of all, if Iran closes the Straits of Hormuz, that's a problem. But it's a problem, as has been brought out, for some of Iran's friends. So Iran would prefer not to do it if they don't have to. Okay. Now, a lot of people have said when Israel gets in bad shape, they're going to start throwing nukes at Iran. Possibly, but I'm saying it's over or they won't. But here's the problem. I don't even know if Israel has the keys to their own nukes. It is a imperial fortress, an imperial military outpost. Wouldn't surprise me if the U.S. didn't give them the keys to those nukes. Number one. Number two, okay, quote, Israel commits suicide. Will the U.S. let Israel commit a U.S. suicide? I don't think they will. I'm starting to believe that this whole business, and that's the other thing. One of the strengths that Israel had was the Samson option. Everybody was afraid, oh, they're crazy. They'll just take us all with them and things get better. They're getting their ass kicked now, and they ain't doing the Samson option, are they? What are they doing? They're begging for a ceasefire. I thought they were crazy people, that as soon as they took a couple punches, they'd go with the Samson option. They're not doing the Samson option. They're doing the Samsonite option. We're getting out of Dodge. We're heading back to Brooklyn, right? So the fact of the matter is, I think the myth of the Samson option, that the Israelis were holding the whole world hostage, I think that's starting to evaporate. That people are like, you're not as crazy as we thought you would. You're getting your butt kicked. And you know what you did? You begged for mercy and cried uncle. I think the idea that the U.S. would go into a catastrophic war with Israel, it ain't over yet. But the U.S. might have looked at it. Think about this. Straits of Hormuz closes completely. I mean, if the U.S. hits really, really damaged Iran, really hurt them bad, oh, that's it. They're closing Straits of Hormuz. They're going to play their card. They're going to fire their nuclear weapon. Straits of Hormuz will be closed, loaded with all kinds of mines. And how are we going to get it open? We'd have to demine it. But how are you going to demine it? You'd have to send ships in to demine it. And it's what, 35 miles wide? 35 miles wide. You're going to send ships in there. What do you think is going to happen from when those missiles come whistling off the coast? When those Onyx missiles and various missiles, anti-shipping missiles, you're going to get blown to smithereens. So you can't demine it. If they put mines in and sink a couple of ships in the channel, in the shallow, and make it hard for ships to navigate. I'll put it to you like this. If they put mines in and if they say it's closed, as soon as they say it's closed, the insurance companies are going to declare force majeure. In other words, there's a war going on. Something is out of our hands. Nobody's covered there. As soon as they say it's closed, the insurance companies will declare force majeure. And they will say, it's over. We're not covering anybody anymore. And at that point, before they even play their final card, which their final card would be take those missiles and flatten the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, the UAE, all of them, flatten all of their oil infrastructure. That's their final card. If they get hit with a nuke, they're going to do that. And what happens to the US empire. It completely collapses. Remember, the strength of the Brits and the US empire is their ability to print money and come up with unlimited capital in the blink of an eye. That is the only strength they have left. They don't have military strength. They only got economic and financial strength, and they can come up with a lot of money in a hurry, which is getting tougher to do, but they can still do it. But a lot of it's magic money. So what happens when the derivatives market, which is measured in quadrillions of dollars, the derivative market collapses? See you later, Wall Street. Everything's gone. The bond markets. What happens if you're a retired fireman, teacher, whatever? All those retirements are gone. Everything's gone. What do you think is going to happen in the United States if all the retired people whose money is in the bond market get a letter, or there's something comes on MSNBC, CNN, and Fox? Well, due to our activities in the Middle East, there's been an attack on the oil infrastructure of this country, this country, this country, and that country. It looks like the bond market is collapsing. It looks like the derivatives market is gone. All the oil speculation and future speculation, there ain't nothing to speculate on. So you won't be getting a retirement check next week. And the government doesn't have any money to help you. And the value of the dollar has dropped to a point where you will need a wheelbarrow full of dollars just to buy a wheelbarrow to carry your dollars. Worthless. There's a run on banks, but it ain't going to do you no good because the dollars are worthless. That is a nuclear option. That would be finishing off. So the Iranians do have a nuclear option. And so while they don't have a kinetic physical weapon, a nuclear weapon, they do have a nuclear weapon, and the U.S. knows it. And I think what the Iranians did today was important. I don't think it's an accident that the Iranians fired on U.S. bases today, and there was a ceasefire. Now, of course, we know what happened. Look, think about this. So Trump is basically saying, oh, yeah, they came to me, and they just said they want to see Israel. Look, simultaneously, they asked for it. Well, that's a lie. Do you remember what happened with the Houthis? The U.S. was there for 30 days, and planes mysteriously slipped overboard. Remember that? Yes, we had a plane mysteriously slip overboard, and another one slipped overboard. And another one slipped over. I'm like, what the hell is it? Their decks with grease? No, I think that they were mysteriously slipping overboard as missiles from the Houthis anti-aircraft system shot them down. And then they slipped overboard. Well, where are they? In the sea, bottom of the sea. You know, they fell overboard and they just went straight to the bottom. It's not like they were shot down and they blew the hell up in flames and they were on the bottom because they were shot down over the Red Sea. No. So what happens? We got our butts kicked by the Houthis, and we declared victory and said, what did Trump say? The Houthis have capitulated. They've given up. They're done. They're finished, and we're leaving. Our work is done here. I mean, they're fully, thoroughly defeated. And everybody's like, come on, nobody believes that. Well, what does he say now? Yeah, they both came to me at the same time, simultaneously, as it were. No, the Israelis have been defeated. Donald Trump has been defeated politically. Now, I'll say this. We're not out of the woods completely yet. And I'll tell you why. Because the U.S. sent a lot of military hardware to the Middle East. I think that military hardware is still there. I don't trust them. I'm sure Iran doesn't trust him. I'm sure Iran is locked and loaded. And what Iran's not going to do is say, okay, we got a cessation of hostilities. Let's relax. No, Iran's locked and loaded. They're set for war. And I think they're laying low, but they're set for war. And they're just saying, just try it. You just anything. You throw another punch. We're not punching. We don't have an agreement. You're not shooting at us. We're not shooting at you. If anything comes in our directions, we're going to open up on you. And I think what they'll do is, if the Israelis fire one missile, they'll lay a salvo on them. Hypersonic missiles and everything. They will hit them hard. And I think what happened is the bases were hit today. And it's interesting because all of us thought the Israelis, all of us, like, the Iranians aren't going to do that. They're not going to do that. They don't want to kill Americans. I think they made a point that caused Israel and the Americans both to recoil in shock and horror. And the point is, look, we're not saying we can win. We're not saying we can win. We're saying we ain't afraid to fight. That's, I think, what it came down to. Everybody expected some level of fear and them to be, afraid, concerned, and say, we're not going to strike back against the US because that's exactly what they want. And then they'll attack us. That ain't what they did. They said, we've got principles. And our principle is you punch us, we punch back. Let your conscience be your guide. Let the chips fall where they may. And I think the US knew this. And the Iranians have said it all along. We ain't worried about your monkey. We're worried about the organ grinder. We're going to smack your monkey. We're going to beat your monkey. We're going to pummel your monkey. That's fair enough. Sure. Fine. But we know that sooner or later you're coming, and that's what we're waiting for. That's what we've been waiting for 20 years. We've been waiting for this. We knew you were coming sooner or later. The door is open. Now we're going to smack your monkey around. Your little monkey don't mean nothing to us. You can see what we're doing to your monkey, and you can see that they're irrelevant. We're going to humiliate them. We're going to embarrass them. We're going to degrade them. We're going to mistreat them. We're going to do whatever we want to do to your monkey. Now, the organ grinder, come on down. This is what we've been waiting on. We don't want to fight you. Absolutely no. But we know sooner or later you were coming. The door is open. Come on in. See how it works out. We got something saved for you. We've been waiting specifically for this moment. And I think the Americans, part of it was, what happens if we go in there and get a bloody nose? And we're probably going to get a bloody nose. And now they know. I think the message was this. This time, we told you we were coming to those bases. Next time, we ain't telling you. Next time, this time we told you we're fine at your bases, get out of the way. Next time, we ain't telling you. Next time, you come attack us. You saw what we did to your monkey. You saw what we did to your monkey. And that was a warm-up. Bring it. Let's do this. That's what the Iranians did. We're not afraid to fight. First of all, if you ain't afraid to fight, that means you got to be not afraid to lose. They're like this. We ain't afraid to fight. We might lose, we might win, but we're going to bloody your ass up. And if you take this thing too far, then you take it too far, we'll take it too far. And all this discussion about closing the Straits of Hormuz was, I think, this was, in a way, if you think about it, the United States played their hand, and their hand kind of gave Iran exactly what it wanted. Because as long as they were pummeling Iran, yeah, sure, that's fun. Yeah, you get to blow Israel. You get to throw missiles at Israel. I'm sure they were. I'm sure that was a hoot. You get to blow their stuff up. I think they killed the Mossad chief. I'm pretty sure they killed this. I'll look. I think they were killed. There you go. Let me see.